May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Well, there's something to be said about truth in advertising. Jesus was brutally honest about how following him would result in persecution and hard times. Jesus' transparency about the cost of discipleship wasn't a deterrent to his misfit band of disciples, nor the holy martyrs of Uganda. Colonialism and empire created a cloud of suspicion as Christianity was taught to the people of Uganda. Not all were introduced to the faith, however. Under the order of King Mutesa, only those of the royal court were privileged enough to be taught by the Anglican and Roman Catholic missionaries. When it became clear, though, to the next king, Mwanga, their loyalty to Jesus was much more important for these loyal converts than loyalty to any earthly king. So Mwanga decided this exclusive faith must come to an end. And in 1885, that king started putting down Christianity by killing James Hannington, a missionary bishop, and his companions. So he started with the outsiders bringing something in. But this gives us a little bit of a clue. With all human stories, we never have the full picture. And we would not be wrong to assume that politics and power prompted the slaughter of those who would not renounce Jesus. Additionally, this is always puzzling to me, hoarding Christianity for those of the royal court is not even Christian. That just seemed like a strange detail of that story. And so it makes me wonder what the missionaries thought about this kind of exclusivity, being told only talk to the royal people about Jesus. And so I'm not sure if I would have followed that. Maybe they didn't. We don't know. But I'm wondering if they were convinced that God's grace would overcome the restriction on their teaching. That the good news of Jesus really could not be contained. And much to the disappointment of King Mwanga, Christianity spread like the fire which led to the death of the martyrs of Uganda. 32 men of the court of King Mwanga on June 3rd, 1886, were put to death by fire. Christianity continued to grow and to seed the faith of another of Uganda's martyrs many years later, Archbishop Janani Luwum, on February 16th, 1977. He too was killed because of his faith in Jesus. But see, there was a difference because he was spreading it and they thought they could kill it. Because Christianity began to be taught by the indigenous people of Uganda rather than white missionaries and spread through the country, and there was no doubt that Christianity, faith in Jesus, did not belong to any ethnic or socioeconomic group. And Jesus said, "And because of the increase of lawlessness, the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved." Jesus' words in the Gospel of Matthew cut to the quick and seem more applicable to our day than those of the martyrs of Uganda. The love of Jesus and his gospel did not grow cold in their time, but instead spread like wildfire. Inspired by the unflinching martyrs of Uganda, I'm wondering, how are we called to spread the gospel in our day? Being Christian is misunderstood and misrepresented, I might add, by those who espouse racist and exclusionary rhetoric, glorify guns and money over creation. And if we're honest, it can be hard for the average churchgoer to articulate what it means to be a Christian, let alone the impact discipleship makes on one's daily life. Scarcity, suspicion, political upheaval, and racial reckoning have made it hard for some to integrate their faith and secular life. Our life in this world and the call of the gospel cannot be separated from the politics of love, which at times will cause us to be at odds with the world, because the world does not value all of God's creation. Being a Christian has been challenging to the church as we navigate our way through these difficult times. And it is not a surprise to anyone to hear me say, we live in an unchurched time. Think about that. That's the term we're giving this era of uncertainty for Christianity where, not everybody knows what we're about or what we do. We're living in a time when we cannot assume people know much, if anything, about the faith that gives us life. Some of you have heard me say this, having a conversation with someone here in Vermont, and this is really like one of the most unchurched states, and I realized, and I said something about a sermon, like they looked at me with this puzzled look. So I said, the speech that I give about Jesus on Sunday. That made sense. They understood that. Yes, in the Western world, we've lost a place of privilege. Lost a place of privilege in a society that places a high value on privilege. And the church has mostly viewed that as a bad thing. Oh, it's too bad that we're not, important to everyone anymore. Well, I don't know if that is all bad. We can see this time as an opportunity. We have a chance to start out new, like the early church. We can leave behind old habits which haven't served us and which have taken our focus away from discipleship, which leads to a Jesus-centered life. If people don't know about Jesus and the church, we have a wonderful opportunity to change the narrative, because they hear all kinds of things. But we can change the narrative which has given Christianity a bad name. Our world actually needs and wants us to be clear about and to spread the love of Jesus. Our church needs people who are rooted in their love of Jesus to serve and lead in new ways. Bram, Darcey, Lars, Linda, and Melanie, you enter your ordained ministry at a crucial time in history. The church loves stability and traditions. Look at me and all this stuff. I'm getting a little toasty too. I could give it up, but no, not for today. Yeah, the church does love our stability and traditions, but the needs of our time will require courage and risk-taking. Courage and risk-taking as we use our traditions in new ways. It is very unlikely that you will face martyrdom or even persecution. However, we are living in a time when you may face hostility because you will lead the way in serving and discovering new models of ministry. We are living in a time where you may face hostility because some of you embody the breadth of God's creation, and you will lead us to be more loving and inclusive of all. We are living in a time where you may face hostility because in your life and ministry, you will teach and lead others to insist on justice, the justice that we said we would all seek in our baptisms All of us said that. Indeed, there is something to be said about truth in advertising. We all begin our ministry in our baptism, whether we're babies, children, or adults. The promises we make, or were made on our behalf, the promises we made in our baptism are far beyond our ability as human individuals, which is why we make them in the context of community. And these promises, these vows, are meant to be accomplished and fulfilled with God's help. The world and the church are blessed by the discernment and commitments each of you have made. While we are here to celebrate and sanctify the way you have been set aside for a particular ministry in the church, I pray that all of the rest of us, I pray that we will stay with you as you lead us down new paths. We all need each other. I am looking forward to how this diocese will be strengthened and grow because of our commitment to Jesus, our mutual commitment to each other, and our commitment to the church. Because I tell you, we are not among those who shrink back and are so lost, but among those who have faith and are so saved.